Hello everybody, my name is William and welcome back to another Roblox Bee Swarm Simulator video. I wanted to say that really quickly because today's an exciting video and we're going to talk about blue hives today. Let's go. See, I'm still good at it. I'm still good at being a YouTuber. Yeah, I've been gone for a while. I'm sorry. So this entire time, I haven't wanted to leak this hive because I didn't make it myself. I made it with 3 other people, and so I had to wait to get their permission to use the hive because they didn't want me to show it for a bit. But essentially, it's just the Blue Hive Composition. It's not perfect. It's made by me, the prestigious Eternal Thunder, and a guy named Ben, also known as Blue Lord 5656. So we all worked together to make this hive, and it is a pretty good hive. It works very well. In fact, Thunder is actually, he's just been macroing all day. He's at 27.3 trillion. It's pretty good. So obviously this isn't the perfect hive. There are a few things that might be different that you guys would probably be right about that we're probably wrong about. However, this is a really good baseline hive, I guess, that you should get the gist of blue from this. We're going to start with amulets, move on to the Blue Hive comp itself, but amulets are super important, so please watch this part. This part is incredibly important. Essentially, from what it seems, the best double passive for blue right now is, there's a debate, actually. It's between Pop Shower, which is Pop Star, and Star Shower, or Pop Gummy, which is Pop Star and Gummy Star. But personally, I prefer Pop Shower because there are some things about it that give it the upper hand, which is specifically this permanently grants a multiplier of 1.25 capacity. And now why that's crazy is if you go to the Buoyant Bees ability, Inflate Balloons spawns a blue balloon for 20 seconds plus 2 seconds per level with capacity that scales with your capacity and the bee's level. So the higher the level the buoyant bee is, the more capacity the balloon will have. The more capacity in your pollen hive thing, whatever you want to call this, your pollen capacity bag, the more storage that it has, the larger the balloon is. Now, why would you want larger balloons? For the very clear reason that you make 90% of your honey from blue with your balloons, because you have honey at hive, which is from something like Satisfying Nectar and your balloon blessing. I highly suggest you never forget Satisfying Nectar. You make nothing without it. You need Satisfying Nectar, Motivating Nectar, and then Comforting Nectar. So be sure you have those 3 nectars, and Pop Shower so far works the best. Pop Gummy, for me, didn't go so well. So I hope that makes sense. I tried to explain that as simple as I could. Another thing, convert rate is actually half decent. So honestly, convert rate on your amulets has never been a decently big deal till now. Like, because when you're macroing and you go to your hive to convert your balloon, it goes faster the more convert rate you have, so you can make more, you can squeeze in more honey per hour, so that's kind of how it goes. But anyhow, so for amulets, what you're going to want to focus on is blue pollen, convert rate, and capacity. There's really not much more to talk about amulets, really. So I mean, honey per pollen is actually really good. Like on your moon amulet, try to get some honey per pollen. I have 8%, which is really good. Why exactly is because it's kind of like honey at hive. It works quite similar, so I suggest you just get honey per pollen on some amulets if you can. Now, time to talk about one of the most important parts. In fact, the whole point of this video, the name of the video, is literally based around this, but we're moving on to the Blue Hive composition itself. Like, what bees does it consist of? Starting off, we have the gifted basic bee for the reason of it grants you a multiplier of 1.2 pollen, which pollen is extremely handy because, well, obviously, you don't make any honey without pollen. So, yeah. You don't need bomber bee or brave bee because those take up 2 extra slots. You know, I'm not even going to mention that you don't need them. I'm just not going to say them if you don't need them. So be aware of that. So you're going to need bumblebee because it grants you a multiplier of 1.1 times capacity, which grants your balloons far more capacity in them, which is extremely handy. And also, it's a blue gifted bee type. Why is that important? So if you scroll down to the tadpole bee here, we've got the gathering bubbles ability, right? So a gathering bubble is, see these bubbles in the field right here? See all these little bubbles? When you pop them, you collect pollen from them and stuff like that. Essentially, I'm not sure why people get rid of their blue gifted types because they're actually quite handy. I might be wrong about this, but I've tried it and it does seem to be true. But essentially, 10% per gifted blue bee type. You get more pollen from your bubbles. A whole 10% more pollen from your bubbles, in fact, from each gifted blue bee type. So be sure you have all the gifted blue bee types. So gifted bumblebee for that capacity and the 10% bubble pollen. Cool bee for 15% base blue pollen. And what is base blue pollen? So base blue pollen is your blue pollen at base. Mine is 933%, which is pretty good. And essentially why it's good to have base blue pollen is because your blue boost token multiplies your blue base pollen. So in the end, you could make like that extra 15% from this cool bee up to like, what, 175% extra blue pollen. So it's actually really handy to have cool bee. So be sure you keep that. Looker bee, of course, you need a looker bee for that 25% critical power. Actually, I was planning on possibly removing it. But so far, I just suggest you have it for that focus token, and that 25% critical power is actually really handy. Now, Hasty Bee. I do suggest you have a Hasty Bee, but swap it out. If you're macroing overnight, swap it out for a Stubborn Bee. But Hasty Bee for the reason of you need to pop some bubbles. So you need a little bit of haste, because you're not going to have very many haste givers in your hive. You're only going to have one gifted ninja bee, and we'll talk about that a little later, but essentially just have a gifted hasty bee. Honestly, it's a bit handy. You can collect tokens easier and stuff like that. Unless you can already do that. If you can already do that, or if you have the Tide Popper, because it grants move speed, and you swing waves everywhere to collect the bubbles for you, you don't need hasty bee if you have either the Tide Popper, or you can keep a 10 stack of haste, no problem. Up next, we have the Stubborn Bee, which you can swap out for either a Hasty or a Stubborn Bee. You gotta pick one. Stubborn Bee, maybe because of that 20% ability token lifespan. Up to you if you're macroing or if you're boosting. Now, keep your gifted Bubble Bee for 50% more bubble pollen, which is actually incredibly important because you don't really fill your balloons without those extremely good bubbles. And also for that 10% gathering bubbles. Bucko Bee for the 20% blue field capacity, which yet again adds to your balloons and is also another blue gifted type. Commander Bee for a 3% critical chance. I swear, Commander Bee used to be 5%. I think on it nerfed Commander Bee, but another thing is for that focus, so you can stack up your focus a bit better. But mainly for that 3% critical chance. Next up, you're going to need Frosty Bee, as it's another gifted blue bee type, and it also grants you 30% blue bomb pollen. And you gain a lot of pollen from blue bombs because your Buoyant Bee will drop you some blue bombs. So be sure you have a gifted Frosty Bee. Next up, you're going to need Diamond Bee, and it needs to be a gifted Diamond Bee, of course, obviously, for that extra convert rate, because it multiplies it by 1.2, which is a huge buff from its original 100% convert rate. So this is actually, Diamond Bee is really good now for Blue Hive. Now, Music Bee. People still say you need 3 gifted Music Bees, but really, you don't. You actually only need 2 gifted Music Bees, because you can keep a 10 stack of focus super easily now, thanks to your frogs picking up tokens, and another bee that I will talk about in just a second. But essentially, you only need 2 gifted Music Bees because you can keep Melody and Token Link pretty easily. Also, you need a specific bee equip. If you're going to run with 2 Music Bees, 2 gifteds instead of 3, what you're going to want is this Toy Horn, because it grants you the extra melody. If you do not have that extra melody, it will be pretty hard to keep your melody going currently. It's constantly. See, it's 100% critical power, which is actually a ton. So be sure you have your Toy Horn if you're just running 2 gifted Music Bees. Next up, we want the gifted Ninja Bee for the reason of that 10% pollen from gathering bubbles. Haste is also kind of handy on this. The 5% bee move speed is really good because tadpole bees are slow. Now, here's one I'm going to talk about real quick, because there is a lot of misconceptions from what I know of with the Shy Bee. People are putting Shy Bees in their Blue Hive because of its new ability, 5% ability pollen. Now, my friend Prestigious was testing it, and he said he did not see a difference with it or without it, and it really didn't impact it at all. So, in theory, the ability pollen does not affect bubbles, like bubbles from frogs, because technically it's not part of the ability that they summon bubbles, but it is, if that makes sense. I don't think it's classified under the same thing. Ability pollen, I do believe, is just towards like a blue bomb token, a triangulate, or a tabby scratch. Pretty sure that would count as an ability pollen, but the bubbles spawned by frogs, I do not believe is an ability pollen, because it's the same thing as like a regular bubble, which doesn't entirely count as a bee ability. Does that make sense? I hope so. But in the end, it never really made a difference to begin with. So keep the extra hive slot and get rid of this Shy Bee. Now, time for the really good bees. This is the fun part. Okay, so I highly suggest 14 Buoyant Bees. Yes, I know it's a lot, but you will see why in just a moment. Essentially, this bee is kind of broken for blue. It is really your main source of blue bombs now. So you get Blue Bomb Plus, and you get the Inflate Balloons ability. And now this Inflate Balloons ability is really good, because the more balloons you have in the field, the more balloon pollen you'll have at the hive to convert, so the more honey you make in general. So if you have 14 of these, you can get this balloon aura up, and you can send back a lot more balloons to the hive to collect more honey from your hive. And also these blue bombs are OP. I must say, surprise party is kind of broken. If you can line it up near the end of your boost, if you can get a surprise party, it's actually really good. And it's quite easy to do so anyways. The passive ability on it is Balloon Enthusiast. When converting from balloons, this bee has a 3 times convert amount, which is kind of crazy. Wait, no, didn't it used to be 10 times? Wait, I swear it used to be 10. Okay, wow, interesting. So now it's 3x. Maybe it was always 3x. I'm just blind, but pretty sure it used to be 10x. Maybe On It nerfed it. I have no idea. He has been tampering with Blue a little bit lately. You are going to need 1 Fuzzy Bee. You don't need any more, because as Blue, you're going to be boosting with another Blue Hive, and so with your 2 gifted Fuzzy Bees, make sure they are gifted, you can pollinate the whole field because of Diamond Drain alongside 2 gifted Fuzzy Bees, so... Honestly, it works pretty well as it is. We've been able to keep a constant star field, which you can't do by yourself, so make sure you boost with another Blue Hive, or macro with another Blue Hive. That's a big important thing I'll talk about later as well. But keep Fuzzy Bee for the multiplier of 1.1 times bomb power, along with the pollination. Now here we have it. We have the tadpole bee, the gifted tadpole bee. This is a wonderful bee, and this is one of the most important bees in a Blue Hive. Why exactly? Is because of the summon frog ability, and you don't collect anything without bubbles, so keep that summon frog ability from these tadpole bees. So you're going to need about 14 or 15. You can tamper around with the amount of buoyants and tadpoles you have, but currently I'm running 14 tads and 14 buoyants, which work just fine for me. You can go to 15 tads and 14 buoyants, but you can remove the gifted puppy bee, and I'll explain why gifted puppy bee is actually good in Blue in just a moment, which is quite an interesting topic. But essentially, tadpole bees give you the summon frog ability, which give you bubbles, and bubbles give you pollen, and also the 10% blue pollen and 25% instant bubble conversion, which actually isn't crazy, never mind. It used to be crazy. Back then it was actually kind of big, but now it's kind of because instant conversion for Blue, it's kind of fallen off. You don't really need it. I don't even have instant conversion on my Supreme Star Amulet. But anyways, yeah, so for the Blue boost and the summon frog ability. Also, you must have a few of these gifted because of Baby Love. Baby Love is so handy because it gives you 2 times pollen, which is really important. Every hive needs Baby Love. Every hive needs to love babies, because that 2 times pollen can really make your boost OP. So be sure you have pretty much all your tadpoles gifted, just for good measure. You don't need them all gifted. You only need up to like 6 gifted, but I mean, getting them all gifted is way better anyways. Up next, we have the gifted bear bee for that 10% pollen, and obviously because of bear morph is OP. Cobalt bee for 10% instant blue conversion, which isn't entirely needed, but it is needed for that 10% more pollen from gathering bubbles. It is needed for that, yes. You don't need your crimson bee, but you do need your festive bee. Well, actually, festive bee is... people are thinking of removing it. Personally, I've kept my festive bee because of festive gifts can kind of be good. They can be, can't be, sometimes good, sometimes aren't, you never know. But personally, I'd keep my festive bee, my gifted festive bee, might as well. But some people say you can remove it, some people don't. I wouldn't, but I don't know. People will experiment with that, and we'll see how that goes. Keep your gifted gummy bee for that 5% honey per pollen, because honey per pollen, as I said earlier, is actually pretty handy because it's kind of like honey at hive. It multiplies that, so it's pretty good. Be sure you have a gifted gummy bee. Yeah. Every hive needs gifted gummy bee, really, because goo has just always been good. You do not need gifted photon bee. It hurt to remove this, as I haven't removed it ever since I even got it, which I got this like two years ago, 2.5 maybe. I don't know, two and a half years ago. I got the photon bee. I have no idea. Probably more like just 2 1/3. But essentially, you don't need it because of that 5% instant conversion no longer required. Now here, as I stated before, here is the puppy bee. Oh boy, this is going to be an interesting one to explain. So why is puppy bee good? I know. Before I get absolutely attacked in the comments, this thing, reindeer guidance. Look at that capacity. Multiplies your capacity by 1.07 for 15 minutes. Now you can get it up to 10 times reindeer guidance, which grants you a multiplier of 1.1 times capacity. And I haven't thought about it before, but this was Prestigious' idea to keep the puppy bee for the reindeer guidance. So how do you get reindeer guidance from puppy bee? Well, as you can see, I can play like kickball with my puppy bee. See, I can just kick it around. But what you need to get this kickball is you need this item called reindeer antlers, and I believe they're in the Bee Bear catalog. Let's see here. Bee Bear catalog, reindeer antlers. Here they are. Ah, yes. Okay. 7,500 snowflakes and 150 gingerbread bears. So they're not exactly cheap. However, they are really good because of this capacity. Alongside this other really cool thing that it gives you, it's called focus. So you can stack your focus easier. See? It's a win-win. Just keep your puppy bee with reindeer antlers if you have it. I don't know, I just suggested. But if you do not have reindeer antlers, I'd replace it with a tadpole bee. So if you do not have the reindeer antlers on your puppy bee, replace your puppy bee with a gifted tadpole bee. Up next, we have tabby bee. Obviously going to keep this for the 50% critical power. Obviously, of course, everyone needs that. Vicious bee for the 10%. The 10% gathering bubble pollen, and the blue bomb plus. Negative 15% monster respawn times isn't exactly the best for blue. It's kind of a bad thing. However, it's better just to have it for the extra 10% blue pollen from bubbles. So, I don't know. Keep your windy bee. Windy bee is still good. It's still good. Tornado is incredible. Or if you stand under a balloon, like let's say this balloon right here. If I stood under this balloon and I had a tornado active, the tornado would collect pollen from over here, sure. But the pollen would count towards whatever balloon I'm standing under. So it fills your balloons so fast. It's so good. So I do highly suggest keep your gifted windy bee. So that's all for the hive. Now I'm going to talk about how to use this hive because yeah, there's a way to use it. Okay, so with blue, how do you boost? Or not really boost, but casual grind, as we call it. Essentially, what you're gonna want to do is, so instead of wasting like a whole super smoothie or a purple potion like a complete maniac, essentially, what you do is you take blue extract, oil. You don't entirely need enzymes unless you're converting at the hive, which you still don't need enzymes then, but it just goes quicker. Tropical drink and glue. That's literally it. You just activate all 4 of these in 15 minutes from just that. So it's actually really, I know, yeah, that's kind of good. So you can make up to 1.8 trillion from just this. In fact, some people have made 2 trillion from just doing this. But glitter, glue, oil, tropical drink, and blue extract. For 15 minutes, you're done. That's the good part about blue. It's really cheap, and macro for blue is incredibly overpowered, as you can make 15 trillion overnight. Overnight, you can make 15 trillion honey from macro. You don't even need to use these buffs. Well, not overnight, sorry. More like throughout the entire day, you can make up to 15 trillion, but you should be refreshing these like every 7 hours, so yeah. But essentially, you can make 15 trillion if you just macroed throughout the entire day, and in fact, I believe Edward won Canada. And that's it. That's blue. That's blue in a nutshell for you. I apologize if I didn't get everything right in this video, but this was the best baseline I could get. So, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Stay tuned for my next video, because I'm going to be making actually a pretty fun video. I'm going to be playing FNAF Security Breach. So, be sure to like and subscribe and check that out. And be sure to check out our Discord server in the links in the description below. And I will see you all later. Goodbye!